All right, I think we're at 5:30. Call the meeting to order. All members are present, and let's rise for the pledge.
The pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's move on to public comment. Anyone from the public like to come up and speak on an agenda item? Please do so now. And moving on from public comment, we will move on to consent agenda. Is there anything in the consent agenda board member would like to pull out for discussion? All right, hearing nothing, is there a motion to approve consent agenda? Motion by Mossman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Olmsted. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Consent agenda passed. On to student highlights.
Hi everyone, good evening. Spring is a busy time at the high school with testing right now. So here's a few test dates that have been going on this month at the high school. April 7th was the first ACT test date. That was for juniors. April 21st was the second test date for those who missed the first one. The high school offers it at a slightly discounted rate, so that was a big hit for students this year. Then also the ASVAB test was April 7th for those that signed up for it. And then the last one is the MCA testing is tomorrow for juniors and sophomores. Freshmen are expected to come to advisory for 2 hours in the morning, and then seniors are not expected to be there. They are adding incentives this year, which was a big hit, and I think that will help a lot get engagement for the MCAs. It includes a third increase for your math grade, and then first choice for the East Lot parking passes or a prom ticket. And then students are also preparing for their AP tests at the end of May.
Hi everyone. I just want to start off by congratulating Bhavya Jala. She placed 7th at state speech this year, and that's the first time since 1994, I believe, that someone has placed at speech. We've had people who qualified but never made into finals round. And then I just wanted to touch a little bit on prom, as I'm sure you're all aware is coming up. The evening begins with Grand March. I think doors open at 6:30 and 7 o'clock it starts. This is a change from the afternoon time slot of last year, so be sure to note that. Parents and friends and family who wish to attend can purchase a ticket for $5. And then following the Grand March, we're having the dance at Crow River Winery, so everyone's really excited about that. So yeah, thank you.
Any questions? Any questions from the polar plunge time?
Have fun.
Did you guys already do that?
No, well, it was already held. Neither of us dunked.
All right. Thank you. Tiger time. Stringer town.
So do my yearly update on how our ALC is doing, and again, it's doing very well. So whenever you hear anybody talk about CRALC or ALC, you're talking about our Crow River ALC, stands for Alternative Learning Center. And in this program, we focus on trying to provide our eligible learners with an alternative to the traditional classroom to kind of recover the credits. And so that's our main goal, is those bottom two things: recovering lost credits and making sure all of our students are able to earn that high school diploma. So we have a couple of different pieces to our ALC. Really, there's kind of three main components. We have it embedded in our schedule for our day ALC. So this year, we have one section that was offered Try 2, Block 4, and that was just math. And then we had 4 sections offered Block 6 every try, and that was math, science, social, and English. And that was the first time we've ever actually been able to have every subject covered every try for the last 5 years that I've been here. So that was pretty great, and you'll see that reflected in the numbers. For night school, it's run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Each night is a specific subject area. So for example, tonight is Monday, and Monday is math. Tuesday is English, Wednesday is social, Thursday is science. And then summer school runs for 6 weeks, and so it's like the first 3 weeks after we do our graduation ceremony, with those next 3 weeks is our first part. there's a week off for the 4th of July, and then the following 3 weeks are the second part. And that's also very highly attended, and a lot of kids are able to get some stuff out of that, including in those very bottom two are kind of our two more focused programs. High School 101 provides some kind of reading remediation and social emotional learning components for our incoming ninth graders that have identified through some criteria we have. And then Miss Roush started last year an EL program for our kind of our newcomers to the state, so they're working on their English language skills, and we're looking to maybe even expand that to more of this kind of keep retaining the skills that they have learned and not seeing any regression. So we're continuing to look at that program and to make sure it's growing and doing what we want it to do. So at this point, I've got up all the possible data I can have regarding kind of our credits earned. And there's two big things I want to point out to you. Is you'll see the day ALC, we have really trended up in terms of the numbers of credits earned, especially in the last 2 years. The reason that is because we have been able to offer more and more of those day ALC programs due to some creative scheduling and some openings in teacher schedules. You'll take a look at the night school credits and you'll notice almost a similar trend going the other direction where we have fewer credits have been earned, and that's because they're getting it done in the day. And so our night school is still very effective. It's just currently right now, students are able to access that during the day. And when students are offered the choice, hey, would you rather stay after school for 2.5 hours and get it done? Or would you rather try to maybe lose out on an elective but finish it during the day? A vast number of our students choose to finish it in the day. Our night school program, though, is still incredibly important. That's especially where our kids who maybe didn't get enough credits through the school year, they come back and finish up in the night school program. Our summer school numbers are staying fairly consistent, kind of that 40 to 50 range, and I expect it to be roughly that same area as well. But just to kind of forewarn, I would expect, due to the different staffing and budgetary constraints, we will probably not be able to offer as many sections next year. So I expect to see that day ALC number probably come down a little bit, and the night ALC number to probably go up a corresponding amount. So anecdotal, just this year alone, about 50 of our 225 seniors have accessed one of or more of our ALC courses through day, summer, or night. And that's just in this last, 9 months. If we go back even further, that number is higher. Multiple students from the classes of 23, 24, and 25 have continued to work. Our class of 23 now is getting really close to aging out, so there are a couple of them are trying to wrap it up pretty soon here, and I hope to see that happen. We had 2 students this year who were able to graduate utilizing night school stuff already, so that was fantastic. And again, as I think a lot of people already know, the smaller class sizes, when they are available, is appreciated by our students, especially the ones who have struggled in a traditional setting and they do like that smaller self-paced program. And then just to give you an idea, for summer programming, we offer very similar stuff as what we do in the night school and the day ALC. The one option that we might be able to offer this summer that we haven't offered in day or night is a health/PE class. That's purely driven by numbers, and so if we have a number of seniors who do need that health credit or a Phi-Ed credit, we will be looking at expanding that option. But as of right now, I think I have 1, and 1 might not be enough to get me up to that threshold to make sure we can offer that. And so there is a change coming, not programmatically, but in how our students access it. The APEX program that we use for our online learning curriculum has been bought out, as things tend to happen these days, by another company called Edmentum. And so they are rolling all of the APEX courses into their own software called Courseware. So I have been told by the company many times that everything will remain the same, and that it's just kind of the site is essentially changing on which the kids access this. So we'll be going through some professional development for our teachers in the program over the summer to make sure we're set up for success. But that will happen July 24th of this year. So basically, as soon as we're done with our summer school programming, we will be closing APEX, and then this new program will take over. So we're going to be really pushing that if you have started a class, I need you to finish it by that time, because once that APEX is closed, then we'll have to kind of start all over. So that's going to be the big focus this summer, is making sure there's nothing left open. And then I think That is it. I mean, any questions for me regarding anything with ALC? Diane?
I do have a question. So this is Crow River ALC. So are we receiving students from other school districts?
Yes. So we do receive, on average, in the last year, I would say one student. A lot of the times it would be from New Century Academy.
Okay.
We would have one that would come from the GSL district. We've had more in the past, but in the last couple of years, ever since really the Glencoe Silver Lake ALC opened, we have not seen as many students from there.
Okay, so then I am assuming that they have to pay our school district to take that student, or no?
So we do claim them. We claim their enrollment hours and are compensated through the ALC budgetary system. Yes, because each student can generate up to 1.2 ADMs, or average daily membership dollars, and so we claim some of that money for a student from a different district that comes here outside of the normal school day.
And then we have a lot of our students are graduating, and I assume this is helping
Yes.
with their graduation rate as
Yes.
well. So is that, and you said there's how many in the program right now?
Oh, so right now in day ALC, if I go back, I think currently enrolled in our day
Oh, you said
ALC,
50.
we have 120 students who are currently enrolled in our day ALC program
Okay.
this year.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Diane asked two of my questions. The third one that I had, that ESL Intro to English, is that
Yes.
something that students or families are open enrolling into, or are we maybe making the referral?
Currently, right now, we're making the referrals.
Okay.
So Ms. Roush is working with her families in the high school and talking to our EL staff and students in the middle school, and then saying, hey, this is what the group is that we would like to do. And then we extend to them an invitation. And we've been trying to staff it with Ms. Roush, our EL teacher, and then one of her two paraprofessionals to work as kind of a language assistance. I think this year we're looking to hopefully invite around 20. I would expect, 60 to 80% of those to accept.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
So a typical way a student graduates is taking classes along the way and everything works perfectly and they graduate on time. But students will fail classes and that's when they enter the CROW program. Do you find that maybe kids with anxiety or, I don't know, some students decide this is an easier way to...
I think there definitely is a thought somewhere along the line of like, I could try really, really hard and I might be able to get by, or I can do my best and then if I don't make it, so be it, and then I have to do this instead. Because what we talk to kids is, you're going to be taking this class. We only do credit recovery. We don't do initial credits. And so no matter what, you're going to be taking 60 hours of a class. So let's say I'm in Mr. Luthen's class, and whatever he's teaching I don't really like, but it's a required course. So no matter what, I'm spending 60 hours of Mr. Luthen's, which could be a blessing, you never know. But if I don't pass that class, I need to spend an additional 12 to 60 hours again taking that class either through in person again or through the online program with another teacher having to do similar things. So at no point are they like getting out of anything. It's only like, what I tell kids is like, if you really don't like math, let's say, would you rather do it for 60 hours or would you rather do it for 120 hours? And so that's what we try to get through to kids. And I do think a vast majority of them, they're there just because for whatever reason they couldn't do it at that moment, and we help them get through it the best we can.
Got it. Thank you.
How many districts are a part of this program?
Well, so the ALC program in general is throughout the whole state. There are dozens of different ALCs. For us, we partner with a specific school who provides kind of because to have an ALC, you have to have a partnership, right? It has to be covered grades K through 12 in some way, shape, or form. And so for us, our partner district is Marshall, but we don't really do anything, or no, is it? Wilmer, thank you. I was like, that's not right as soon as I said it. Wilmer, but we don't really do anything together. It's just part of the accreditation process, I would say, through the state that makes us have that partnership. But for us, the schools that access us are generally New Century Academy, Glencoe Silver Lake, and our students are really the only ones that we ever see students from.
Good. Good job. Thank you. All right, moving on to admin reports. Mr. Dietz.
All right, speaking of the polar plunge, I have a really good video of Mr. Singer Towns making the jump into the tank. But I will say it was like 80 degrees that day, so it was the strangest polar plunge I've ever witnessed. But it was still fun. I thought I heard they made around $13,000.
Almost 14.
Almost $14,000 for special ed. So that's a great event, and I'm glad they could reschedule because the first day was supposed to be on a day we are going to get a lot of ice, and we got no ice. That usually happens, right, when we're calling weather. So then they got to reschedule. So anyway, that's good. I'm sure it was still cold.
The water was cold. I'd say 55 to 60 degrees. Not too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you walked out, it was quite pleasant.
Becky Bull, Mike Scott, and I, we were able to host Senator Gruenhagen and Representative Gilman a couple weeks ago, and we were able to discuss educational issues affecting Hutchinson Public Schools, really all schools, but we did bring it down to Hutchinson so they could see what's happening with our school district as far as legislation goes. I want to thank those two legislators and Becky and Mike, and just taking the time to sit down and collaborate. I don't think we do enough of that with our legislators, or I actually thought it was a little more effective to have them come to Hutchinson rather than us go to the Capitol, because then there's so many people and they just can't focus. This was an hour of just focusing on Hutchinson and us. So I really enjoyed having that opportunity. No promises made, of course, because there's a lot of dynamics going on in the legislature right now, but at least they know what's happening in Hutchinson and they got a handout from us, so that was good. I also attended the McLeod County Economic Development Forum, which was at nighttime. It was like a 4 to 6 thing, and it was all about what happens with when you don't have enough housing, what happens to communities, especially rural Minnesota. And you can imagine what happens. A lot of things that came up were like people don't have enough money to move out of their houses, even though maybe there's only 2 of them and it's a house for 6. They don't know how to get out because they can't afford the next piece, or they just want to stay. And then sometimes there's not updates going on, so it can cause some issues. If there's not enough move over housing, they called it, but I think Hutchinson has done a pretty good job with move over housing, meaning like smaller houses to move into, patio homes, that type of thing. The problem is it's too expensive to build one, and it's really expensive to buy a newer one, so that doesn't always work either. And they kind of talked about, they had a person come out from University of Minnesota Extension, talked about how much money is lost when you don't have enough housing for people. And then of course the schools are also affected because it's hard to get families to come in if they don't have anywhere to live. So just that whole dynamic, it was really good. Also, we had the mock crash last week, and it was very well done. I think hopefully the kids are paying attention and they're seeing what can happen. They have all the people come out that are supposed to come out if there was something like that to happen. The helicopter couldn't make it this year because they had a real call that they had to go to, but it was very well done. Again, I think it's every 3 years or so they let us do that. So I enjoyed seeing it because I think it does get the point across to everybody. It's a little eerie seeing it actually. So our team has been working hard also to get our 2026-27 balanced budget, and the preliminary budget will be on June 8th by our administration, and then the final will be on June 29th. So that's coming. Also, I'll be having a focus meeting with the teachers this Thursday, it's this Thursday, so that's good. It's been a little while since we've had one due to weather. I was also able to attend Romeo and Juliet, if you had a chance to see it. It was well done. It was a twist on Romeo and Juliet. There was dancing and other types of things, and they always do a great job. The set was awesome. I know, Mike, you were there. I saw you there, but I'm sure others went. It was just really well done. Jason does a great job directing. Appreciate seeing the kids in that, doing those types of things. And then also the Minnesota legislature continues to meet. I wish I could give you good news, but really the news is they're just kind of stagnant. The House is tied, as you know, with the number of people in it. And the Senate has a 1 Democrat majority, but I think they're just kind of disjointed, the whole thing. There's no money, and so we don't know how it's going to end. It has to end 3 weeks from today, and they can't have any bills pass 3 weeks from today. It has to be the Sunday before. So less than 3 weeks to try to get something to happen. I don't know. We just sit and wait. I guess the most pressing thing would be the compensatory funding that we have, around 300,000. If there's nothing done to help with that, that would be a $300,000 loss in Hutchinson. So I guess it's a wait and see, and we'll have more information for you by the next school board meeting. As far as negotiations go, as you know, we have a tentative agreement with HESP and a tentative agreement with Local 284. Both of those unions did approve their agreements, and later tonight you'll be asked to vote on them. And I do want to thank the representatives from both HESP and Local 284, all the people, along with our board, Aaron and Garrett and Diane, and then Rebecca, Becky, and Mike for doing a great job trying to get these to TAs. So that's what I have. Any questions?
Not a question, but I just wanted to add, and someone here will have the correct dollar amount, but when you talk about the stage and how cool that setup was for Romeo and Juliet, the students themselves, we talk about our community partnerships and our talented students and staff. Those students went out and fundraised, I think, $14,000 or $15,000 so that that stage could look the way it did. So
I did not know that. That's awesome.
They did an incredible job.
That's really great.
I have a question about the mock crash at the high school. I know there's the crash and then there's maybe a presentation. What do we do for helping the kids maybe process what they see? Do they go back to like their advisory groups and have discussions, or is that?
I do know they had a presenter after who's had his own issue with his son, Brad Bickler. I don't know what else happens in the high school after all that's over.
So everybody's always encouraged, if there's anything they want to talk through or talk about this, talk to their counselors, myself. So that's kind of the next step. We do have a couple of students who have lived through some stuff that we would excuse them as well, say, hey, you don't need to go through this again. So we provide them some other spots to be and kind of people to talk to as well.
Thank you.
I will add on the mock crash that students really thought that the presentation part of it was really good and that the speaker really persuaded the message to them, and they really listened in on it. It wasn't like a, just kind of a wimpy conversation. Then they really took it seriously.
Yes, he's like the basketball coach at SMSU, and then sadly, I heard him in Minneota, sadly he lost his own son to a drunk driver in Starbuck, Minnesota, or near Starbuck, Minnesota, a ways ago now, but such a sad story for him. So, but a really good presenter for our kids to hear.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Dr. Scott.
Okay, a couple other items that came in for recognition. First is Math Masters. There were these fifth grade students. Joe Redmond was first in order of operations out of 80 students, and Bennett Myers was third in Operation Fact Drill. Carson Klitsky and Brody Johnson were fourth, and Ben Chesmowski was sixth, and then also Ben was 12th out of 80 in solo round. So the team took 7th, 8th, 9th, and 12th out of 18 in a lot of different rounds. So congratulations to them. There's a picture of the students there. And then finally, the last one was the Tiger Unified Tournament. It had in Eden Prairie. The Tigers earned second place. Last year they were first place in the novice level. They moved up to the intermediate level and took second. So this group of students in the Unified Tournament had an excellent showing that weekend. So congratulations to them. I know at the end of the month we'll have a lot, some more things that will be coming in for recognitions here at the end of the year. I know that Eleanor and Avis both spoke to the MCA testing. It's been going, the process, only can speak about the process right now, is going well. I want to thank the technology department. We haven't had any major issues, or really any issues that I know of, in terms of sharing the Chromebooks from building to building. I know that can be disruptive to the flow of using those in the other buildings, because we're sharing them throughout the district, because we have to use district devices. They're really on the ball, the tech department, with getting these things organized and transferred around all the buildings and getting them back right away and smoothly. So thank you to that team. Right now we're in the middle of the process of ordering our new curricular materials that we ran through the Comprehensive Achievement Civic Readiness meeting. It's kind of started last spring with the process of looking at the different vendors and looking at the resources. So we are getting those materials here, inventorying them, getting them out to the teachers, or planning some training even before the end of the school year. Kind of asking them when they'd like to do this, get it into their hands before the end of the school year, but would they like to do some of the training before the school year's over? And we're going to be doing a lot of that at that point. Then we'll have the summer to do some work, and then doing some other stuff right away at the beginning of the school year before the school year starts. So I officially started the new support staff, new teacher week schedule, because a question came up today, so I had to document that. So we got 16 weeks to go, 112 days before the new school year starts. But I just throw that out there because I know it's an ongoing thing for me keeping track. So there it is. You don't have to ask me. I already told you. They have the final Southwest West Central Curricular Leader meeting here next week. I've been fortunate to be able to partake in that, getting together with our co-op and with other curricular leaders, is talking about topics not only related to READ Act, but other curricular implementation things that are coming from the state to just see what other school districts are doing. So that's been beneficial. Speaking of the READ Act, we have our final staff session, support staff session next week during the early release. And then we'll be looking at how many support staff are remaining to schedule those things before the school year starts. Hopefully, the co-op is going to maybe be creating an online component as well. We may do that too, but just trying to expedite getting that training done as soon as we can and as authentically as we can. And then we have new teachers coming in, keeping track of whether they've received any training or not, looking at their transcripts if they're new out of college. There's some constantly changing pieces to make sure that they're meeting the requirements. We're tracking it very well and making sure that they're supported, and we're doing some more trainings next year too with all of our K-3 teachers specifically on the science of reading. So a lot of things that are coming up that we're going to give some more information to our staff about that here in the coming weeks. So ANSYS virtual conference was this past week to go over year-end reporting items. So me, as long as some other staff members, was virtual. I think I said that, but it was virtual, so it was something to kind of know the logistics for that. I was able to tour the Kaminsky School with Jen Teleski here a couple weeks ago. I know some of you probably seen some fundraising things for that, trying to make that into maybe a little regional center of meetings and things like that. I'm curious and interested and excited to see what the partnerships may bring with that. If they get that going and kind of in shape to where they want it, to have that as what we might be able to brainstorm and see what educationally we can use for that as well. So I think with that, that's what I had for a report for this month.
Thank you. Moving on, Ms. Wool.
Good afternoon, good evening. Mr. Diet mentioned the budget planning update and the negotiations. A couple of other items from our area is that the beginning of May, we will be conducting benefits open enrollment for staff that are eligible. We will have 4 new insurance plans this year. We do have a better renewal than we've experienced the past 3 to 4 years. So employees should stay tuned for information on that. We will be using a different software system. It was cost prohibitive to continue with HR Connection, so employees will be oriented with Employee Navigator. In addition, been helping the team with community surveys. Paid leave volume remains high. I think it would be important to also give a shout out to food service. They're doing a really great job setting up and planning for summer food meal service. They're going to be doing that same meal pattern this summer. Sites where menu items will be available is Park Elementary for the students attending summer school there, middle school, and then the rec center. So stay tuned for more information on days and times and all of that. Like Dan, we in my department definitely appreciated the opportunity to meet with the legislators. Don Gilman and Glenn Grunhagen's visit was very much appreciated. In technology, cybersecurity remains a focus. We are also working on 4 years of device replacements because we have a high number of devices that were purchased during the pandemic that are now up for replacement. So instead of having a bubble year or 2, we're looking to spread them out where possible. There isn't a dedicated funding stream for technology, so some extra time is being given into determining what can last a little longer, what should replace now, and how much will the costs be in each of the upcoming years. I can take any questions you might have.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, moving on. First contract up for discussion is Education Minnesota. Is there any initial comments from Dan or the team over there? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the contract as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Aaron, second by Diane. Any more discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Moving on to Local 284's agreement. Is there a motion to approve the contract as presented?
Moved.
Motion by Aaron, is there a second by Danny Homestead. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contract passed. Thank you. On to board member topics. Election survey.
Okay.
Dan?
Yes, this is not an actionable item, but it's to get your input. So we have gone through and worked with the Morris Leatherman Company, as you can see, to now, because we are trying to test operating referendum and a tech levy, I could not get him to go much lower than the 50 questions, or he didn't think it would. He wants to make sure that you can rely on the data. So I know some of you have, you might have an opinion if we could do 30 or 40 questions. I also want it to make sense when it's done, so I'm going to use his expertise on this. You have the questions, but basically there's basic questions being asked. Obviously he's interweaving tax tolerance into this and other types of questions so that he can come and present to us when it's done. And I think that the whole idea today is, do we have, are you guys okay with these questions? Is there anything that struck you that you just aren't okay with? Or is there anything that didn't get in here that you would absolutely want to have in there? Because he doesn't want to come and have somebody say, why didn't we ask this or that? Because you can't go back. So it's just kind of a last check before he gets going on this.
So what's the general origin of these questions? Do they cycle through their systems? Or how?
He listened to everything that like when we had our work session, all our ideas, we wanted to test both things, we wanted, that type of thing. And then he goes in and he creates. And then there were some places where we had to give him some information, like priorities. I don't know if you saw that, but like some of them were like, we could look at those, because those are ones we filled in ourselves. That was around 25 or so, I think, question 25, 6, 7. So the first one was operating referendum on number 25, 26, 27, 29, all would be like the operating referendum. And we just worked to try to come up with, why would we ask for an operating referendum? What would an operating referendum do for our district? What kinds of reasons would we ask for one of those? And then if you go down further, did I pass it? What number was it? 30? Yeah, number 33, that was like a tech levy. So you'll see some overlap because we have the same needs for some, but then like maybe one of them you'll see, like salary and benefits for an operating referendum, whereas we stuck to tech needs or right on the tech part. So those were ones that we literally, Mike and I and Becky, and we were talking through. The other ones he pretty much generated from our discussion. Does that help? So any input you have, I'd like to write it down so we can go back to him and give him the green light or change something or add something.
Did the questions that you felt needed to be added, were those generated at all by the strategic planning survey that we did? Because I think the community needs to know that we did the strategic planning because we wanted to see what the needs of the community were or was, and then, do we need to go forward and what would best serve the community?
We kept it in mind when we were going through it, but as far as these reasons go, like using let's say the same platform, right, would be a tech issue. We maybe didn't say, do you want to have a tech levy for the same platform, but it would be encompassed in there. Mm-hmm. This is a little bit, it's interesting to go through this because he obviously has a set questions he has to ask probably all the time to get the data he needs. And there's just some input that you have to give. So, but this is where we're at, and I know it's 51 questions. I know some will go really quickly. It's phone call. They'll choose the people on their own end, and they'll have this ready in 3 weeks if we move forward.
So refresh my memory. Everyone's gonna get asked those same 51 questions?
Correct.
Okay.
All the people they choose. Yep. What do they choose? 400 or 400? So they choose 400 and that are part of our district.
I just want to add though that they'll be asked the same questions, but there are a handful referring specifically to tax tolerance, where the interviewer can choose their starting point and then 2 increased amounts, so that there's a random sampling. That way they don't start every person at $75 and then get no's. They can start at 20, 50 and work up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So what week should our community be aware that they might get a phone call and to answer it?
I don't think it's going to, if we don't have major changes to this document, I don't think it's going to take them very long to get going because they're going to be done in 3 weeks. I do not have an exact day that they'll start. I just don't think it'll take them very long.
All right, so community.
Yeah.
You might get a strange phone call in the next 3 weeks.
Right.
Just pick it up, and if they want money, you can hang up. But if they want to ask you about Hutchinson Community Schools, please answer those 50 questions.
And then on the if this all goes well, on the 21st of May, he would come and present the results to you guys, so we could decide what our community is willing to do, if anything, towards a November vote.
I'm generally not confident in the quality of information we'll get from these surveys just because of the type and the length. With that said, I don't recall from the process that we voted on, will we also be told how many non-answers and how many hang-ups they receive?
I can ask him that.
Okay.
Are you hoping to make sure they reach 400 if it takes 2,000
Well, I think they'll
phone
reach
calls?
400, but I think it'll, you know,
Do you know?
someone who may not answer at all and someone answers and within 3 seconds of hearing who it is, they hang up.
Yeah.
So the previous times through, I don't know that specific answer, but I do know that we can get that answer. The other piece though is they keep calling until they have a representative sample that's statistically reliable. So they're going to make sure that even if they have hangups or incomplete surveys, that they keep dialing until they have a complete data set. So I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
The only other question that I had, I think overall the questions look well formatted. I think it pulls out the information we want, but in 49 of 51 questions, there's an option for no answer or I forget how it was worded. Refusal. The only one that doesn't is question number 41, which asks the community what they want to do for a referendum. It's either do you want to do tech, do you want to do operating, do you want to do both, but there is no refusal or neither.
On number 41?
Correct.
I think there's
So
somebody who they'd have to write it, the person.
So I'm looking
That's
at.
what I was looking at it.
I'm looking at 41, and number 1 is statement A, statement B, statement C, and it says do nothing or don't know, refused. Am I looking at the right one?
That's the right one.
See over here.
That's what I'm seeing in 41. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about.
So it's like A,
Oh, I
B,
see.
C,
Okay.
or.
Yep, I missed that on the side.
Are we
Thank
okay
you.
then with that one?
Yep, yep,
Okay.
I agree. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else before we give the green light to move forward that you guys want to have input on?
I need a little help too. 44 through 51. How's this data relevant for us? This is purely a curiosity question. Those seem all, it's like a demographic question. Like I just curious, how does that help this survey over, or is that more of a Leatherman collecting information for
That's
their
not
giant
us.
pool? That's where
We definitely didn't tell him to put those in there, but he certainly put them in there for a reason, but I can get back to you as to what his philosophy was on why they have those.
just some of these, without cherry picking through them, like those
Yeah.
by the end seemed like what was the relevant for
Yeah.
Hutchinson needing to know those questions. So,
Okay.
and if it was more for the company just to collect the bigger data set so they are more valuable to their clients, so be it. That is what I was noticing.
I can ask him that for you guys.
But I agree with Mike is that questions are thought out, give enough options, and hopefully we can get a good data set and get a good answer. So.
And
Okay.
Garrett, I think that just has to do with the demographics. They want to make sure they have a certain amount of parents versus non-parents, different ages, so that, I mean, they probably have an idea before they even call, but.
More for data back to us as a board member, those last 6, 7 questions are not relevant to what I would think I would want to know from the community.
Correct.
Is, are you even okay with any?
I will ask
Got
him.
it.
I'll
Got it.
email him tomorrow, and I'll
Yes.
just forward you guys the answer, because I don't. We think we know, but I'd like him to say, because he'd know better.
Yeah,
than
they're
anybody.
saying if it's,
Yeah,
they only called 6.
I just mentioned to Garrett that it can be statistical proof that they did get that random sample and that it is diversified and it represents all of those concerns that you have. It's there in writing in the data.
And they didn't just call 400 farmers.
And then let me just clarify for the people that are listening, these questions are like, what age group do you fall into? What is your income? Do you rent or own? Do you have kids in school or not? What age? That sort of thing. So demographic type questions.
Yep.
There was one more question that I was curious on the wording, and Sarah, if you have it up, I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
But I think our approach here was that the average home value in Hutchinson was $300,000. And in the question that asks, what is the value of your home? It is you rent, or it's 300, 400, 500 or more. And I was,
Under.
is there an under?
Yeah, it says own under 300, and then all the rest are.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, that clears it. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other
All's better.
questions for Dan and the team on the survey? All right, Dan,
Thank you.
you're good there. All right, flowing on to committee reports. Jankowski, you want to go first?
Yes, comprehensive achievement, we were at that, and that was pretty good. We talked about the new curriculums that are coming through, that'll start in the new year. We also talked about the graduation rate, and I think we're above 90% at this point, which we would like to be above 90%, but there is a rate at which you can't get any higher. I think it's hard to get above 95% or 96%. Is that right, Dan? Because there are just kids who, for whatever reason, we will miss.
And the TAP program.
Yeah, and then also the other 10% there does include the TAP program. Is that right, Dr. Scott?
Yeah, that's right. There's going to be a cap. We're not going to have, nor do we want to have 100% graduate in 4 years. And we've talked about that in the past. So there's that cap of probably 95, 96% that we'd want to keep trying to work towards and try to capitalize on the students that are dropping out, or we don't know where they're going, to try to figure out what's happening, what we can do to support them. But we always know we're going to have students that, as Mr. Singer-Towns talked about, that need to have the extra time, and there's nothing wrong with that they might need the extra time not only for TAP, but life happened and they didn't pass the classes right away and they might need another year. As long as they finish, that's the goal. So if it doesn't necessarily happen in 4 years, we want to make sure they get a diploma.
Right, and that's why the ALC is very, very important to our school district as well, so that we can capture those other kids that maybe need the extra year or two to graduate. So that was pretty informative, and I really appreciate all your hard work on that.
Very good, thank you. Facilities, and who's the nominee here? Everyone's pointing this way, or?
I don't have the best voice today, so I'll keep it short, which will probably excite a lot of people in the room. A couple of updates. Every year we are required to submit our LTFM application to the state of Minnesota. LTFM stands for Long-Term Facilities Maintenance. It is a 10-year forward viewing document that shows where our money is being spent for all of our facilities. And Mr. Tenick works very hard on that every year, making adjustments, spending where he needs to spend and reserving funds for later. So it's constantly changing and moving. And then our job in facilities committee is to make sure that it all looks legit before that gets sent off to the state.
And so we spent a large part of our meeting reviewing that. So that document will be getting sent off soon. We also spent some time looking at the long list of projects that we have for the summer. Some of them have already sort of started. There's going to be a lot of work done on the pool. That's going to be an expensive project this summer. It costs about $100,000 to update and renew some of the things that the pool needs to be functional. We're also installing a tennis court light pole. So for people who go to tennis courts frequently, you might see some action with regards to that. And then things like putting new curtains in the high school auditorium, putting an auto shop lift. Those are some of the things that have already been started. The other thing that we reviewed that's important is there's some remaining funding left over from our TAP and DO projects. Obviously, any remaining funding from those projects first goes to look at those projects specifically, and then because the district office is within middle school walls, remaining funding can be used for some middle school projects too. So we reviewed some of the areas that we plan to use that funding for, and those are the big things.
Sounds good. Thank you. Finance, Mr. Mossman.
All right, finance. I won't do this committee report justice, but Sarah, please forgive me. Revenues, we're at 71% of the budget with $34.1 million booked. Expenses, 67% or $33.3 million booked. As is almost always the case in our district, revenues and expenses were on track, nothing out of the norm. We did a review of all of the bills, and the school board had no questions that needed to be answered prior to approval. We did discuss investments, $26.4 million invested with an average rate of return of 3.88%, which was a slight decline from the previous year, but still fairly healthy. We did go over the two contracts that we approved in this evening's school board meeting, as well as covering some independent contracts for an athletic director. Becky went out and did some reviews of our cash holdings and found some great increases in our interest rates just to make sure that our district is getting the most bang for our buck wherever we're holding money. So great job to your team and you for the work. For any staff members that have personal cards in our district, just as a heads up, we'll be moving to a new provider, and so there will be some training for those individuals. Overall, just a better partner is what we're hoping for. I did want to talk a little bit about all of the audits that the finance team and some other teams around the district have participated in, helped facilitate, and at the end of the day helped us pass all of them. We went through a total of 13 audits, and of those audits, our team dedicated 467 hours or nearly $40,000 of payroll. And so those are above and beyond the role that those team members normally do. And so just to anyone who participated, an enormous thank you from the district. Outside of that, yes?
Just to clarify, we usually have about 2 audits a year, and we had 13.
Yeah, a couple more than normal. Outside of that, just some overlaps with the finance committee, some discussion about the referendum that we talked about this evening, community survey, and then we did look at meetings for the month of May just to ensure that board members can meet frequently enough that we don't slow down the district's process in passing a budget before the July 1 deadline. So.
I had one more comment on the audits. Getting these 11 extra audits was completely random. It's not that we have shown any reason to need an audit. We just had really bad luck in the audit lottery. But after I said that, I'm like, oh, I don't want people to think that we've been making bad choices, because we had fantastic results from all of those audits.
That's all. Thank you.
Good job, guys. Insurance, Ms. Bowl covered most of it, and it was sticking with majority of our carriers, and rates are staying under 11-12% increase compared to 33% to 30% a couple years ago. So
Yep, depending on the plan, there'll be a 3% decrease.
yeah,
And then if you pick the high deductible plan, there's like an 8% increase. So it depends which plan. Much better outcome this year.
correct. So the committee is moving forward with those recommendations out of there. Parks and Rec, Ms. Knudsen.
Yes, so just as a reminder, summer registration opened April 8th, and they're still accepting late registrations for things. Parks, shelters, restrooms will open on May 1st. The new park installation at Oddfellows Park is complete, and all of the summer projects are beginning to start, are underway.
I had a question from the community member about maybe like a group of basketball hoops going in behind the tennis court. I don't know exactly. It was so confusing. I said, gosh, if only I was on the PRCE committee, I could answer that.
To my knowledge, there was some discussion about putting in an outdoor basketball court, but it wasn't by the high school tennis courts. Maybe Dan remembers where there was discussion about that, and those would have been funds raised directly by HYBA.
Yes, those are the ones.
So that's the other side, is there has been a precedent in the past if associations, smaller groups want to kind of crowdsource and bring revenue forward, that Parks and Rec would partner with them to push that project. And at our last meeting, we didn't discuss that in totality. So I'll bring forth more if I hear.
Thanks.
Sure.
Very good. Technology.
Technology met on the 16th. We covered the usual topics of InfoSec training and phishing simulation tests throughout our district. I think Nick is more optimistic than I am. I think our participation rates are pretty low. And Nick did a very nice job sharing that just recently, and I can't recall the district, but a district in our own state failed a phishing attempt that was not by the school district and ended up losing a significant amount of non-recoverable money. And so when those come out, please flag those messages, please participate, take the training. I believe they're normally 10 minutes or less, but it's meaningful content. I think I've done some in several other companies. It's the most entertaining I've ever participated in. But I mean, if you look at the month of April, we had 3% phishing simulation fails, which is a pretty good number. And then InfoSec training, we had 38%. So just over a third of the district is participating in that. We do see month over month participation rates go up. People may be busy and then they get to it in a subsequent month, but participate in those trainings. It was already covered by Ms. Bull, but replacements was a huge topic of discussion. We spent a lot of money kind of in the 2020 to 2023 time frame to make sure we had digital devices for all students who are doing most of their learning at home. Those devices don't have a 10-year lifespan like they did in the past. If they make it a year, it's shocking. If they make it 3, I mean, I don't know how. But we're going to have a large bubble of replacement devices, and so we're going to try as a district to process those out in waves so that we don't have one enormous expense. MCA testing was covered by Dr. Scott and Ms. Bull. We're seeing, fingers crossed, very few tech issues. The tech team has been really responsive and available for all teachers and staff, so kudos to them. And then this was talked about in the last 2 months, but family communication is something that's still being worked on. In the past, you know, it's either been the district's Facebook page or maybe an email that goes out that a parent may not see for hours at a time. And in some more urgent matters like a delayed bus or you know, anything more serious, we want to make sure that we can get in touch with parents and families more rapidly. And so we're still testing Parent Square and Campus, which are 2 resources that can accomplish that much more rapidly. So that's all that I have.
Very good. Thank you. On to other items of business. Dan actually threw one down. Do you want to just highlight the survey? Strategic plan survey by May 4th is due, I believe, correct? Am I getting ahead? Yeah, need a reminder.
Yeah, that did get sent out through many different means that we could come up with, and that is important. It is due May 4th. So if I think it's on our Facebook. It should be on our website. I know we sent it through campus. There's probably some other ways that we tried to get the word out, and it is important that we get feedback as much as we can, because we are wrapping this up certainly by June or July. We'll have our 3-year roadmap to help us move forward with our strategic plan, and that'll be important to get the last feedback we can from our community on some of that. So.
Predominantly, how did we get that out to outside of people that don't have kids?
So
how did we
the
push
emphasis was not on the community. It wasn't on all the community. It was on like parents. It was on students. It was on, or not. Students could go on. We didn't send one to the students. It was on our people who have attended the sessions, alumni. Like we got it out as many different ways, and anybody from the community certainly can. But it wasn't supposed to be 15,000. Like we weren't supposed to get it out to 15,000 people. That wasn't one of the pieces of that. But we did get it out in a way that anybody can take it. So it's really hard to send it out to people who aren't affiliated with the school.
Yep.
Just because you don't have their emails, you don't have, so you put it on Facebook, put it on your website, word of mouth.
And that's predominantly if they go onto the website or Facebook, they'll get a link in. And
that's probably the only way we really had to do that part. Yeah.
Got it.
And this is another thing we really need the community to participate in. Hutch Public Schools, is important. We pay taxes. We want our kids to be educated, but we need the community's opinion on where do we want to look? What do we want look forward to? What do we want a day to look like for students? What are we concerned about? So, we've been spending a lot of time doing that, but we need the community to really give us their opinions. So.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure we highlight that survey is for strategic planning, and the phone call you get is something completely different.
That's
so just wanted to make sure that we all acknowledge that as a board here.
Different things.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. The board meetings are listed. Our committee meetings are listed. If there is no other discussion, is there a motion? Or actually, I'm going to close the meeting for negotiation strategy. Is there a motion to close? Motion by Mossman, second by Olmsted. All right, meeting closed.